I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 417. Well, hello, all my dear friends from all over the world. Not only can you hear me, but you can also see me if you so wish to. And that's the way all of my podcasts are going to be going from here on out. They will be video and audio. So if you want to see my pleasant face, you can watch this video. Today, I have something I'd love to talk to you about. And those of you who listened to the podcast last week, I was telling you that I was going to a silent retreat for 5 days. I am now back. I came back on Monday. So I've been back a few days. And I have some things that I want to share with you that I think will be very, very helpful. Sure was helpful for me. And everything that I talk about in the thinner peace process always has to do with mindfulness and self compassion. And the reason that I use those terms a lot is because I've done a lot of meditation and I have studied a lot of Buddhism with some very, very special teachers. I am not a Buddhist, but I do study it. And I just came back from a Buddhist 5 day silent retreat in insight meditation. It's through Mid America Dharma, which is in the Midwest. So it's great for me. And I have to tell you what an experience it is. And I'm not recommending it or not recommending it. I'm not either way. I'm just going to tell you about it a little bit because I think it's fascinating because everything that I talk to you about is about the mind. And what you put in your mouth has everything to do with what's going on in your mind. So today I want to talk about a Buddhist term. It's in the Webster dictionary too, but the term is called equanimity. And I have it up here on my board in case you want to look at it and see how it's spelled. Took me a couple board papers to spell it right. But I want to talk about that today of how to have equanimity around food, what it is, and why it's so important around food. So, when I was in this 5 day silent retreat, let me just tell you a little bit about what it was like. So, for 5 days, this is basically what I did. I either sat and meditated or walked and meditated, or I was eating. So, there were 3 meals throughout the day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in between all of that was sitting and walking meditations all the way up till 9 o'clock at night, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. And the reason that I did it is something that I've done for many, many years. And then due to COVID, I hadn't done one in maybe 4 years. And I was a little shaky about going back and doing it. It's like, I don't know if I can sit with my mind this long anymore. It's been so long. But I also had this intuitive hit in my gut. I call it a butterfly hit. I have my butterflies on. And it's that feeling of yes. So my body was saying yes, and my mind was going like, I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if you can sit that long. I don't know what's going to go on in your head. I don't know. You've been having knee pain. I don't know if you can sit, or what if this, or what if that. My mind was busy talking me out of it, and my body was jumping in butterflies. So I did it. It was my intuitive hit, and I'm so glad that I listened to it, and it was a little bit of everything. It was a little bit of my fears, but it was also a lot of the reason that I wanted to do it, the excitement, the butterflies. And, um, when I was sitting, we would sit for 45 minutes at a time in meditation, and then we would do a walking meditation, and to sit and watch your own mind, no distractions. It's silent, which means they call it noble silence. Noble silence, meaning it's respectful, which means that you're doing all of the people that are in your Sangha, which is the group, you're doing them a service of respect by not looking at them and by not talking to them so that they can have their own inner journey without being distracted by noise. So it is something that we do out of kindness. And it's so unusual in our social climate where if we see somebody, we look at them and we say hi. And yet, if we do that when we're on our silent retreat, we take somebody out of their own headspace. It distracts them and takes away from their experience. So it was really lovely to not have to talk, to not have to say anything. And all of our meals were done in silence, and you might have had somebody else at your table or you might have been by yourself, but nonetheless, there was no talking. It was paying attention to what you were putting in your mouth, what it felt like, the true mindfulness of what it's like to eat. And boy, I thought a lot about eating. It was the most exciting thing of the day. Sit, walk, eat. Sit, walk, eat. Sit, walk, eat. Sit, walk, sleep. So it was a very kind of uneventful 5 days that seemed like a lot of things were going on. And one of the things that we really learned to do that my teacher was really helping us with was being able to, when we were meditating, to be able to watch our own minds and to be able to label what our minds were doing without being real dramatic about it. So, for instance, if for me, one of the things that I did a lot that I noticed is I was so busy planning what I was doing for the day, planning what I was going to do when I go on vacation, planning. I mean, we had a very simple schedule. There wasn't much going on, and I was planning when I was going to walk, where I was going to walk, what I was going to eat. And it was just so interesting just to watch it and just notice this brain loves to plan. It's almost like a way of not having to pay attention. It's like giving it something to do, making me feel like more secure. So I just noticed it and it really became more funny than anything else, which is lovely when we can watch our minds and not be so attached that we actually become mindful. And mindfulness is being able to watch what's going on without judgment. No judgment. That's why it's the labeling. This is planning. This is worrying. This is fear. Whatever it is that's going on, but you don't get into a big obsessive conversation of drama. And that's also the beauty of meditation. And also the beauty of watching our mind is how dramatic our minds like to be sometimes. So, with that being said, I want to tell you a little bit about the group that I just finished up with just now and how I was introducing some of my meditation techniques to them and how I was using this word equanimity through the Buddhists. Equanimity meaning that you could take it or leave it. It's not indifference, but it's almost like a mental calmness of not being attached to the outcome of anything. Sounds lovely, I know. And I also know pretty difficult to do, but I got to play with it and I got to watch it of what it's like to be unattached whenever I found myself attaching to something. So, what I wanted to talk about today is the equanimity of food because food can be very dramatic. And when I was talking in my group today, I had a couple of my students. One talked about that she went back to her childhood home and there was an ice cream store there, and it was her favorite lemon ice cream. And it's just like when she started talking about it, she looked like she was going to jump out of her chair. She was so excited. And I said something to her in the end. It's like, wouldn't it be lovely? It's like, I understand that it tastes good. I understand that it's from your childhood, but it is just ice cream. It is just lemon ice cream that tastes good. So if we're labeling it and we're labeling it without drama and emotion, we would just call it lemon ice cream. That's it. And when we become less dramatic about food, we also create less urges for ourselves. And then I was working with another client today also who was talking about this other ice cream was a big topic. She was talking about this ice cream that she liked to keep in her house, the deep, rich, real ice cream. But she didn't feel like she could keep it in her freezer. She didn't trust herself around it. And that's because of the way she thought about the ice cream. It's delicious, it's rich, it's her favorite. There was a lot of drama attached to this ice cream, and because of the drama that she was creating, she was also then creating the belief system that she couldn't control herself around it. And what I suggested is if she could become equanimous with this ice cream, which means I can take it or I can leave it. I'm not attached to the ice cream. I can eat it or not. It's delicious. That doesn't mean because it's delicious, I have to eat it. And it doesn't mean I can't control it. But I can control it a lot better depending on how I think about it. So my suggestion to her was it can just be ice cream that's in your freezer. That's it. That's all it is, or whatever kind it is. And you can like it, but you don't have to dramatize it. When we dramatize something, it makes us want it more. It makes our minds get clingy. You want to suffer? Cling or try to grasp onto something that you like. It's another Buddhist term, grasping, clinging. When something is going good, when something is going your way, you don't want it to end. It's almost like we grasp or we cling to it. And the clinging causes suffering. And if we want less suffering, we keep it calmer. We just stay calmer about it. It's ice cream. It's lemon ice cream. It's from my childhood. I like it. It's not like I love ice cream. I love this. I had one time one client with pizza that I did a podcast with. She had a thing about pizza. She loved pizza. And it's so funny sometimes watch people when they talk about food. And if you want to know the people that could change their thinking a little bit, it's like, can we become less dramatic? It doesn't take away from the enjoyment. It just takes away from the urge to how bad you want it. And when I talk about urges, urges are caused by thoughts. Urges are urgent desires to want to do something. They're caused by a thought like, this is so delicious, or this, I will never eat this again for another year. Drama. Or my students today, my favorite lemon ice cream from my childhood. Or it's going to create an urge. It's going to make you want it, even if you didn't want it. You're going to want it just by the way you talk about it. So that's what I want you to practice this week. I want you to practice, regardless if you meditate, regardless if you know anything about Buddhism, I want you to practice this word, equanimity. Equanimity with food. You can take it or you can leave it. And that ends up with a thought that is my favorite thought for you to work on believing, which is I can eat whatever I want. But what do I want? I can eat whatever I want, but what do I want? For me, it used to be potato chips. I didn't think I could take them or leave them. I thought if they were there, I had to eat them. I thought if they were there, I couldn't control myself. I had a lot of drama around potato chips. Now they're potato chips and they're good. And there's certain ones I like more than others, but I can take it or leave it. It's the same thing with alcohol. I love when you can get to the fact with alcohol where alcohol becomes equanimous, that you have equanimity around alcohol. You can take it or leave it. I can drink it or not. And when you're in that place, drinking it is so much easier and not drinking it is so much easier. When you can take it or leave it and you're not dramatized, it takes the urge away. So that's what I have for you this week. I want you to practice having equanimity around the foods that you have been dramatizing. If you've been dramatizing it, start practicing this week. You're going to see a difference in your urges if you can start changing your thinking around these foods. So try it. And of course, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, no matter where you go or what you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye bye.